ARK's Halloween celebration event has become the game's biggest almost all year round. But did you know it was a fan that started it all? Did you know it almost introduced player skills way before Lost Colony was even an idea? And did you know how much harder it really was before now? Well, follow me on a journey, young ARK explorers, as we span the last 10 years as we look at how Fear Evolved really did evolve. Taking us right back to June the 3rd, 2015, when ARK Survival Evolved was barely 1 day old, and an island boasting a very different looking one with much fewer dinos than we know today. Before even Wildcard probably knew themselves how holiday events would be delivered, a community fan by the name I'm Scared posted their fan art, inspired by the dino dossiers created to reveal their interpretation of now Fear Ascended's flagship world boss, the DodoRex. Almost accurately reimagined in-game, this fan-made dossier here would catalyse the entire event, suggesting it to be an aggressive monster eating anyone attempting to tame it, roaming the beaches and attracted to large concentration of dodos. A collaboration with Fian Grey, with some possible help or influence from then lead community manager Jat, it would go on to receive an alarming amount of requests for it to be added into the game, followed up in a question in ARK Digest 11 on July the 23rd, 2015. ARK's community engagement forum back then, yeah, there was a thing that players used to be able to interact with, and that's been long gone since like years ago, and asked then if we would ever see it. With confirmation, Wildcard had a planned limited event appearance during some very special days later this year. Wink wink, nudge nudge. And through an absolute info dump of times where a new creature was being announced every week, and even before the island received its swamp and snow biome updates, the team would officially introduce their own take on the same dossier, with questions still surrounding it, but a blood-covered paper back drawn to be encased among a pile of gnarled bones, with teases to learn more over the next couple of weeks. And true to word, on October the 8th, 2015, in ARK Digest 18, the very first holiday event would be announced, with complementive key art illustrating key themes we'd still see today, such as bone costumes, witch hats, and of course a scaled perspective of the DodoRex would arrive with ARK's first holiday logo artwork, befitting to celebrate the spooky season as it intended to deliver. Teased to expect seasonal changes in both aesthetics and temperature, the mythical DodoRex was announced to arrive with an army of bloodthirsty zombie dodos with a clear goal to attempt to beat it. But remember, this was back before Dire Bears, Troodons, and yes, even the Giga, which meant you couldn't even use a Giga to kill the thing. And of course, players were about to find out how unprepared their small dino collections were, with the event officially added on October the 28th, 2015, introducing us to the very first holiday theme tune adapted by its flagship musical pioneer Gareth Coker, and delivered through an in-game trailer boasting a rethemed island with brown and orange leaves, and of course them being connected to trees, meteors raining down from all directions, graveyards, pumpkins and scarecrows littering a now much colder map through longer nights, with bats and spiders all spawning above ground and now tameable. With new skeletal variant Brontos, Rexes, Stegos, Trikes, Carnos and Raptors roaming to award your very own bone dino costumes, along with a dino witch hat skin being the very first dino cosmetic in ARK. The event boasted even more, with placeable paintable jack-o'-lanterns, gravestones and scarecrows, and brand new themed candy corn beacon supply drops, with a little cheeky offering, a incredibly rare jack-o'-lantern item unlocking free ARK game codes if you could find them on official servers. They were a thing, can't find any details surrounding them, but yeah, you could have got ARK for free back then. But every third night at the stroke of midnight, a giant string of text would appear on screen, letting you know somewhere on the map a DodoRex was waiting, with its entourage of zombie dodos and a branded moon to illuminate survivors' first attempt at beating something nobody was prepared for. With its now iconic 666,666 health points at level 1, a rapid health regen of 250 points per second, a a hard-hitting melee attack, but much more fearful 2k health melting fire breath over 10 seconds with each. With phenomenal fast-paced unescapable strides, players quickly learned this to be the strongest and hardest creature to kill in the game. Roughly as large as a Giga and more powerful than even the Dragon Boss. The fanged, balding theropod quickly became infamous for wiping out armies of tamed dinos with every first encounter. Even bases weren't safe if you were unlucky enough to be built by its spawn. But for those daring enough to bring together entire servers to beat it before dawn were rewarded with an unlockable Steam achievement, DodoRex mask skins, and for any leftover claimable zombie dodos. Still, dodos really at the end of the day, but you know, at least trophies to prove you'd achieved the impossible while we were still learning ARK. And so a full year would pass by as players were eager to attempt it again with a bit more meta playing knowledge and some much harder hitting tame dinos under their belts. But with the recent arrival of Scorched Earth, an even bigger treat was about to be revealed. On October the 11th, 2016, Fear Evolved 2 was officially announced with a date to prepare for, but most notably a new event creature to face, the Dodo Wyvern. Treated yet again in the form of a dossier with the same blood-soaked pages of its island counterpart, and being a Scorched Earth map exclusive that would remain to this day. Alongside the announcements, the now completely avoided Titanoboas would join the overworld to be tameable, but most notably, skills. That's right, way before Lost Colony, way before any of these later maps we got, way before ARK Survival Ascended or any mention of ARK 2, skills were planned to be brought into ARK. Believe it or not, they were on the table. Superhuman sight, speed, strength, and vampire-like gliding were planned to be contracted through vampirism or lycanthropy, inflicted from vampire bats and rabid dire wolves. Almost feels like a little nod to Lost Colony now, with a moon-triggered body animation morphing you into a werewolf, but with caution to avoid the daylight. Obviously, we know now it didn't happen, you know, apparently owed to Jesse and Jeremy needing to take some work abroad and they were too busy, so just didn't have the time, and it's a wonder if that was actually the time when the snail buy-in happened. But there was still enough to see and do, with high-risk rewards for those willing. See, all the cool craftable skins we take for granted now were all unlocked behind spooky-themed challenges. On a yet again rethemed cold orange and brown island, you'd now find bone Quetzals and Gigas to beat for their costumes, and over on Scorched, bone Jaboas and Wyverns for theirs too. But anyone hoping to get the new vampire eyes, werewolf mask and clown skin wouldn't be finding these in the returning candy corn drops, but instead rewarded through killing both the island spawning DodoRex and the seemingly much harder Dodo Wyvern, which didn't quite turn out to be as bad as we thought. With the event landing on October the 28th, 2016, players raced to Scorched Earth and waited yet again every third night to find and challenge this brand new monstrous-sized Dodo Wyvern. Boasting a bite as hard as the DodoRex, all 3 elements of breath attacks, and a monstrous-sized health pool. Not forgetting its entourage of zombie wyverns, this flying ball of fear should have been even harder to kill, but some unfortunate oversights found this to get stuck incredibly easy back then, turning this into, well, really a static target. But even so, still a slugger to kill in the air and finish before dawn, but when you did, you got your very own personal zombie variant wyverns. Seriously, these things were gold dust, a once a year golden opportunity to get arguably the rarest creatures in the game, with any still alive following the Dodo Wyvern death to be simply claimable, and boasting new zombie look aesthetics, faster speeds with tighter turning radius, and being 25% smaller than normal wyverns, able to pass through dino gateways, made these highly desirable variants a highlight of the event. With a brand new Dodo Wyvern mask unlocked for killing it on top, if players could stomach taking on both that and the DodoRex back on the island, and then use both of those skins unlocked from each, as well as stolen headstones, pumpkins and scarecrows, they could craft the ultimate trophy skin for the event, the clown mask. Yeah. Let that sink in, for a clown mask. With the first Fear Evolved event to arrive with 2x harvesting, taming and XP, Wildcard dropped an even bigger incentive for the first person to kill both and prove it unofficial to win a tidy $100 Steam gift card. 2016 continued to spore with a few weeks later. In celebration of Thanksgiving, Wildcard included the ability to actually tame the DodoRex. Starting November the 15th, 2016, if players could amass 400 wishbones from killing very, very hard to kill super turkeys, they'd be rewarded with a temporary tame of the base-destroying beast. And, this thing had to be temporary. It was the Decimator, destroyer of worlds. And with the sequel event cementing it to be the fan favourite, the ARK community naturally couldn't wait for its return again. But if you blinked, you might have missed it, because October the 28th, 2017 briefly announced a much milder return, a much milder return. And with, a fair excuse, Aberration. Launch plans were well underway, and with Wildcard busy on that, they instead announced a 48-hour Witch's Curse event, with at least overworld spawns returning and a promise of valuable drop items with cosmetics, but that was sadly it. The event ran on October the 30th, 2017, and players were, a bit miffed. Not least helped by the event unavailable on single player and hairstyles not working, but through the colder, longer nights, black and orange spiders littered the beaches, and almost all cave creatures spawned above land, including Megalania, Titanoboas, scorpions, onyx spiders, arthros, and surprisingly Megalosaurus. Though it did just go down as a lead balloon, paling to its former Halloween events. It's worth noting this was one of the only times back then you could get a wide range of unique cosmetics that were, really otherwise completely unobtainable now. With an explanation on Reddit for the reasons why and shared sympathies to bring it back, surely the following year would see a rise from the grave, right? Yeah, it didn't. October the 31st, 2018 just gave us sad DodoRex noises, earlier confirmed on Reddit by Chris in response to asking if we'd see the event on the impending Extinction release, that they were too busy wrapping up Extinction. It's hard to believe ARK's favourite event of the year had a kind of 3-year hiatus. Well, 3 years without the DodoRex anyway, and it was clear people wanted it back. And with a vengeance, on October the 22nd, 2019, Fear Evolved 3 jump-scared us all to finally make a return. With all of the event items and creatures we'd had so far, besides the strange removal of cave creatures above land, but a brand new way to gain the new cosmetics, craftable within a cooking pot using scarecrows, pumpkins, tombstones, and dino bones now gained from killing wild skeletal dinos to unlock a new jack-o'-lantern mask, hockey mask, headless neck stumps, and relatively new at the time emotes in the form of Panic, Spooky Dance, and Zombie. And as a little extra treat, wild creature event colours became a mainstay now really taken for granted. With returning candy corn drops, 2x rates including breeding this time with a weird absence of taming, and a new thing at the time, Halloween-inspired dino colorization candy for a temporary colour change and speed boost. Highly desirable for people missing their pre-flyer nerf tames. And those sought-after zombie wyverns, well, it turned out their days were numbered, as with the launch of Genesis Part 1 in Jan 2020, it was announced all zombie wyverns would be removed from the game for optimization reasons. So poof, bye-bye, yeah. That happens. But tears could thankfully be wiped clean with the arrival of Fear Evolved 4 on October the 22nd, 2020, with its cemented return confirmed. Any claimable zombie wyverns would now persist, sparking their desire to be back on the table. Something else was missing though. Map theming was out. Something I really miss seeing. No more overspawns, no more cool, colourful trees and different moods and aesthetics to drive home what this event is all about. But yeah, all good. Out the window. But instead we did get treated with the arrival of ghost variants, spooky, translucent entries of some of your favourite creatures, needing to first kill them to obtain their skins, with Direwolf, Mantis, Snow Owl, Rex, Bulbdog, Basilisk, and Reaper being the initial offerings. Alongside 2 new emotes, namely Scare and Knock emotes, as well as even more wild dino colours with now 2x rates across the board, some of the very first event chibis arrived with this Fear Evolved, introducing Skeletal Giga, Juboa, Bronto, Stego, Trike, Raptor, Rex and Carno, joined by both Bone and Zombie Wyvern chibis too. The big miss though was the lack of trailer this time around, which previously tied together a great introduction to these events, but we'd find out the following year this was possibly tied to a much greater plan. Worth noting, the DodoRex got another encountering entry outside of the event, as with the arrival of Genesis Part 2 on June the 3rd, 2021, anyone able to withstand the barrage of enemy waves within the Survive the Ark mission would be treated to an automatic summon of the infamous fire-breathing creation joined by its Dodo minions, but ominously arriving with the text Survive Nida's Secret, suggesting lore character Nida Akhtar, a Terran Federation colony ship soil scientist, may actually have the answers to why this thing exists, well, at least lore-wise. And being a simulation coder by passion who played a much bigger part in programming the ring separation at the end of Genesis 2, it's a great tie-in to at least give the DodoRex a solid lore tie-in. As October the 26th, 2021 rolled by later that year, we're treated to Fear Evolved 5, with instead of the traditional in-game trailers we'd seen before, but now, apparently ARK's first public attempt at using Unreal 5 engine-rendered cinematics, made by CUDA and really our first look at ARK Survival Ascended 2 years before it arrived. With the introduction of full-body costume cosmetics now, specifically Strawman and Skeleton costumes, alongside new print shirts and yet even more chibis, with Ghost Direwolf, Basilisk, Rex, Mantis and Witching Owl joining the roster in a 3x rate event. The ever content increasing Halloween draw would continue on as the most celebrated event, repeated once more for Survival Evolved on October the 19th, 2022, announced as the very last annual Halloween event with Fear Evolved 6, including everything from before, as well as the new chibis for the Desmodus, Vulture, Aranio and Spooky Bulbdog, with 3x rates once again and new wild dino colours. The yet again absence of a trailer was, well, this time to be expected, as the wait for ARK's Unreal 5 upgrade was well underway, which finally arrived on October the 25th, 2023, but being the very same month, it was pretty excusable to find no Halloween event this time around, with Wildcard still working on console iterations of the remaster to drop on November the 21st and 30th for Xbox and PS5 respectively. Hard to believe there was almost an entire month where it's PC exclusive only. And was the 2-year wait worth it? A resounding echo of applause welcomed a rebranded Fear Ascended event on October the 30th, 2024, including almost everything from the previous events, notably the absence of map-specific skins and chibis, but with the DodoRex now spawning on the center, delivered instead through a downloadable mod, players outside of official now themselves had full access to the event for as long as they liked, introducing a new method of crafting skins and emotes, this time through a smithy. Cleaver and crowbar weapon skins would join arrow, axe and sword head hat skins, along with a full-blown werewolf costume and howl and sniff emotes, which, if you think about it, that was 8 years after the idea had been teased. Well, at least aesthetically, to include our very first turret skins with Horror Species X, and those last few additions unlocked through joining a redesigned spooky-themed Club ARK, to offer a brand new Fear Wave minigame mission, not only greeting us with a new battle against the DodoRex, but a teased test play of ARK's latest creature, the Dread Mare, brought in very on theme to become a mainstay DLC tame for those looking to celebrate their 2x rates even further. Which finally brings us around to October the 29th, 2025, a 10-year celebration since the very first ARK event, and unexpectedly delivered with a tubular tone. I'm so sorry. Abandoning the need of a sequel number, the DodoRex went Uber mode, now spawning on every map with the additions of Extinction, Valguero, Ragnarok and Astraios, but, you know, sad Aberration noises. Will we ever see the Dodo Reaper? When? Needs to happen next year, wildcard, maybe, hopefully. Obviously not Scorched Earth though, still owning the Dodo Wyvern with the same third nicely spawns, but now with a unique claiming system of any zombie variants wandering the beaches becoming claimable upon the DodoRex being killed. But we find out not quite alone, as Mousers from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles would occupy the beaches too, needing to be killed for mutagen ooze, a new resource required to craft ghost skins, but not before claiming those specific skins from a new giant roster of ghost variants. Cats, Gigantoraptor, Anki, Serato, Angler, Veilwyn, Drakeling, Yeeling, Argy, Spino, Megalodon, Otter, Deinonychus and Owl all dropping ectoplasm to craft their skins alongside ooze. And all much more stronger than before now, needing a brand new ecto-lantern tool to kind of ghostbuster weaken them to stand any chance to kill them with ease. With a brand new beachy visual overhaul to Club ARK, though strangely lacking of rewards as opposed to the previous year, a trick-or-treat emote, swim skins and returning Owl Chibi, it's safe to say 2025 has been the biggest ARK event yet. A benchmark and standard that have proved all ARK events really do need to step their game up, and they're picking up definitely. But it's a wonder if any event at all could have existed without that very first fan art DodoRex dossier. I hope you've enjoyed this story time, a little walk through the history of ARK Ascended. If you want to see more like this, comment below, please do. It really helps me out. Hit that like button and all that jazz. Until the next one, my name's Raasclark. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and as always, peace out.